Two shorts. Here we go. Oh, we got two watching. 6. 9. We're climbing. 12. 15.
It's Monday night. DRL Radio's on the air. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk about all things sim racing. Here are your hosts, Rich, Mr. TV Time Patton, Todd, Too Tall Stab, and Phil, the Racer Lacasse. Okay, boys, let's have some fun. Yes.
Back live and on the air. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's latest installment of DRL Live on the DRL Network. Good evening, everybody in YouTube land. Thank you out there for watching us, as always. My name's Phil Lacasse, along with Todd Stanton and Rich Patton, as always. Guys, another edition of DRL Live. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been on the air here, Todd, so we got a lot to get here to tonight, but it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on the air, my friend. What's going on good? Everything good in your world?
I'm stuck.
Yep, good to be back on here, Phil, and interesting to see what's going to happen tonight. I know you guys are up to something. Don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure we're going to figure it out. And off for the last couple of weeks, not something we normally try to do, but unfortunately things came up and things had to change on short notice. But we're back live tonight, so looking forward to the show.
No, it should be a great show. And Todd, we got you back on the air. I know you had some issues there for a minute. You all good?
Yeah, I'm all good. I was trying to get some things on a brand spanking new PC, and I have to set up some of these whisper keys and get these set and right. I know I heard some of them go over air, and I'm back with us at least, and I should be good to go now.
Well, we had a jam-packed show going, guys. What we're going to do here this week, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on the air with DRL Live, and, of course, we do the weekly review segment. It's usually stuff that's most current and up-to-date, so we've tried to do the best we could with what we've had here, that we've had assemble over here the last couple of weeks, so we got a lot to get into with the weekly review, so Todd, let's dive straight to it.
Yeah, looking at some of the weekly reviews, and we were quite a ways behind. It's been a while since we've been on air. I'm looking up and down, and I have Blazing Pedals thanks to Bobby Farrell. I have Blazing Pedals for results from 1-2 to 1-5. Monday Night Super Speedway Series was won by Jeffrey McClintock at Talladega Super Speedway. Bobby Farrell, Chris Harder Felix, Derek Justice, and Tom Richter finished out your top 5. Wednesday Night Camping World Truck Series, Ace Hardware 100. Ace Speedway, Robert Balcom, Jason Justice, Toby Robertson, Corey Carpenter, and Jeffrey McClintock rounded out your top 5 there. 7-Eleven Super Truck Series, the Granger Select 160K at Riverside International Raceway was won by Road Course Shoe, Jeffrey McClintock, Derek Justice, Justin Malello, a name I have not heard in a very, very long time, Phil, finishing up 3rd. Alex Crapster and Rick Moon rounds out your top 5. Thursday night saw the Sprint Cup Series Kansas 150 at the Kansas Speedway. Blake McCandless takes down the win. Tom Richter, Maverick Morrow, Bobby Farrell, and the number 20. In the 2016-2017 winter season, Segment A champion Maverick Morrow, Tom Richter, Bobby Farrell, Tony Robertson, and Bruce Heil. That ends the results there for week ending 1-5, Phil. And that's just showing how far behind we got, not having a couple shows and some of the vacations that we took and other exterior life that happened to us, unfortunate events that did happen to, I would say, me, caused it so we didn't go live for these couple of weeks.
Well, we've certainly had our troubles here the last couple of weeks, but good to be on the air again tonight. We'll move over to the Extreme Motorsports clan. This was stuff that came in, for last week's show. We'll be out here tonight. We'll put out a couple of weeks ago. These guys ran the Trans-South 125 at the Darlington Raceway. It was Blake McCandless picking up the victory with Ricky Collette, Dennis Chambers, Greg Lovell, and Jerry Walters running at your top 5. One night later, the Extreme Muscle Car Late Model Series raced at the South Boston Speedway. It was short track ace Robert Balcom picking up the win at South Boston with Greg Lovell, Dennis Chambers, Jerry Walters, and Philip Parker running at the top 5. A couple nights later, the Super Speedway Series took to La Baz 500 Daytona Speedway for the Extreme Super Speedway Series. It was Too Tall Todd Stanton picking up the victory. Dennis Chambers, Davey Hazard, Greg Lovell, Blake McCandless for your top 5. And moving over to a couple nights later, the Extreme Motorsports Cup 90 Winston Cup Series on Monday nights. It was once again Blake McCandless picking up the W, with Sean Whitehill, Frank Divins, Ricky Collette, and Steve Looney running up the top 5. One night later, the Muscle Car Series raced at the Jennerstown Speedway. Robert Bauckham took down the checkered flag for the second straight week, with Jerry Walters, Greg Lovell, Frank Divins, and Dennis Chambers running at the top 5. Then we move over to the Super Speedway Series. That was the headline of the week there last week. They raced the Talladega Super Speedway, rather. Talladega was the host of the Super Speedway. It was Davey Hazard picking up the win over Tyler Stallhood, Dennis Chambers, Steve Looney, and Blake McCandless. Todd running at your top 5. That was 2 weeks worth of stuff from Extreme Motorsports. Thanks for Frank Divins for sending all that over.
Oh, I have some more added results from Blazing Pedals. I have 2 more weeks to cover. I just had to take a breath and take a sip of my Sobe energy drink here. Monday night Super Speedway Series, Coca-Cola Super Speedway, Toby Robertson, GT Irizarry, Austin LaPlante, Blake McCandless, and Sean Case at the Coca-Cola Speedway. Wednesday night Camping World Truck Series, Jason Justice took down the win. Martin Karch, Tom Richter, Bobby Farrell, and Jonas in the number 20, rounding out your top 5. The 7-Eleven Super Truck Series, Solid Garden State Classic 150 Wall Stadium, David Day taking down the win, Mr. Excitement himself, Derek Justice, Bobby Farrell, Jonathan Taylor, and Taylor Morgans rounds out your top 5. Thursday night Sprint Cup Series from the Meadowlands 300 Meadowlands Speedway, Tom Richter, Jonas, Toby Robertson, and Bobby Farrell round out your top 5. And then results from 116 to 119. Monday Night Super Speedway Series from the Daytona International Speedway saw Joey the Jet, Joe Allen, our own Joe Allen, starting or finishing the race in the first position. Bobby Farrell finishing second. Another top 5 for Bobby Farrell. Wayne Pribnow finishing third. Fourth was Austin LaPlante. Fifth was Bruce Heil. Wednesday Night Camping World Truck Series, NASCAR 120 saw Jeffrey McClintock take down the win. Corey Carpenter, Jason Justice, Tom Richter, and Jesse Klein rounded out your top 5. The 7-Eleven Truck Series, the Texas Roadhouse 160 Texas World Speedway saw Jason Justice take down the win. Second was the 17 of Jeffrey McClintock. Third was Derry Justice, Gary Piccolo, and Noah Carmichael rounding out your top 5. Thursday night Sprint Cup Series saw Kentucky 175, the Kentucky Speedway, Jeffrey McClintock, Sonny Tallman, Tom Richter, Jay Schaefer, and Jesse Klein rounded out your top 5. That's going to complete 3 weeks worth of Blazing Pedals results. Thanks to Bobby Farrell. Bobby getting that information out to me each and every week here, live on Facebook even.
Oh, and hats off to all these guys. And of course, to get your results here on DRL Live, you can do that by sending us a quick email to drlive@drlnetwork.com. Be part of the weekly review, all race recaps and news and whatever kind of information you got out there as we talk all things sim racing here each and every week on DRL Live. We move over. I got a quick blurb here, Todd. It was really cool to hear from our friend Justin Malello and the guys over at FTF Racing. They were very thrilled to announce the return of the sponsor. The Jones Cup Series will return in 2017. The Jones Proofreading and Editorial Services, a small business in Charleston, South Carolina, whose focus is on helping students and new authors hone their writing and developing skills here as they publish their product. Jones stepping up there and being sponsor of the FTF Jones Cup Series here in 2017. They follow the full 36 weeks format, and they return to action with the Jones Cup Series, Todd, 1 week after the Super Bowl, so I believe that would be about 3 weeks. So we're on the cusp of Daytona Speed Weeks, and the guys at FTF Racing say, check us out. Well over 80 entries already on the line to take part in the series in 2017. So I think we're going to see a lot of great things this season from FTF there, Todd.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic season and racing in store over FTF. And like you said, 80 entries. That's awesome for NASCAR 2003. And those guys know how to run a series. We had that live broadcast here on DRTV, and it was a fantastic showing. And we didn't know who was going to win that championship. But back over to Extreme. You did not have Extremes last week, Phil, and I did get that information from Frank Divins himself. So we're going to buzz over and try to finish up Extremes results. Greg Lavelle on winning. He wants to congratulate Greg Lavelle. Holy stutter today. And I must have not had enough energy drink. Steve Looney finishes second. Ryan Pace finishes third. Dennis Chambers finishes 4th, and Jerry Walters finishes in 5th. Then we move on over to the Tuesday Extreme Muscle Car Late Model Series at Bowman Gray Stadium. That's a fantastic track to race at, if I may say so myself. Picking up the win was Robert Balcom once again, a short track guru. Greg Lavelle finishing 2nd. 3rd was Dennis Chambers. Dan Lavelle was 4th, and Frank Divins rounding out our top 5. On Thursday, Daytona Boz 500, race number 7 in the series. Todd Stanton taking down the win. Randall Coleman finishing up 2nd. Davey Hazard 3rd. 4th was Joey the Man. Good to see Joey the Man inside the top 5 once again. 5th was Dennis Chambers.
So let me get this right here, Todd. We're DRL Live. It's a talk show. We talk all things sim racing. Did I hear this correctly? 2 victories in a row for you at the Super Speedways. Way to go, partner. Way to get your groove back.
Yeah, 2 wins out of 3 races over the Extreme, and it's a lot about luck. I'll tell you, you just got to be in the right place at the right time, and both the guys that finished behind me pushed me to the win. So maybe they just felt a little sorry for me, and I'm glad to actually get that monkey off my back and maybe win some more races.
Well, speaking of sometimes seeming to be lucky versus good, got a quick blurb from Zach Buchanan and the guys over at IORL. A couple weeks ago, they ran the Bowman Gray Stadium, the Madhouse as we all know it, for a great 100-lap feature. It was a late three-car tangle battling for the race lead on a restart with 4 laps to go that took our race leader, Chris Wetz, Dylan Schwartzenberg, and Derek Justice, all 3 cars making contact as they entered turn number 3. That allowed eventual race winner Davey Hazard to motor on by, pick up the victory there. That was his first win of the season. 6 different winners in the IRL Late Model Series. I think that's a really cool feat. Zach Rodgers, with that wreck, was able to move up and finish up to the 2nd spot. Chris Wentz was 3rd. Sorry, there, clicked the wrong button. Zach Buchanan come up 4th, and Derek Justice, he rounds out your top 5. Said Davey Hazard picking up that win. 6 winners in 6 weeks over at the IORL League, Todd. That's a great short track series that Zach and the gang do on a Friday night. Really great car count, some really terrific racetracks, so check these guys out. IORL, part of the SRA Racing family. Find them in the SRA TeamSpeak, just as we are here.
Going to cruise on over to Insomniac Motorsports and Insomniac Super Speedway Challenge Series, one of those series that everybody wants to be a part of. And I tell you, what a fantastic showing that they've had. Talladega was the way of the land here for 1-6, and that was Joe Allen taking down the win here. Joe Allen having extremely good luck in that Super Speedway Series. Blake McCandless finished 2nd. 3rd was Randall Coleman, and Greg Lavelle finishing 4th. Nick Gunther rounded out your top 5. The 2nd week of that series that we did miss was at Daytona BP, that BP version. Chris Hartofelix took down the win in that number 112 machine. 2nd was Zach Rogers, Jesse Klein, Mike Fallon, and Chris Robbins rounds out your top 5. Then we went back to the Talladega Super Speedway, and this name is starting to get familiar. Joe Allen, again, top at the point with that number 6 machine. Joseph Weaver, Craig Meyer, Davey Hazard, and Grant Wesley rounded out your top 5 for the Super Speedway Series. Going to go over to the Big Evil Dirt Series here on Sunday nights. Big Evil Dirt, we've missed a lot of coverage on them dirt races, but Martin Karch taking down the win at the Devil's Bowl Speedway, Devil's Bowl, Texas, in that number 92 machine. David Day finishing 2nd. 3rd was Rick Johnson, Davey Hazard, and Joe Allen rounded out your top 5. Next up on that was the Accord Speedway, the Bull Ring, as they call it up here in upstate New York, and it's a fantastic track to even visit in person. It's a fantastic racetrack to race at and watch all the carnage and different bumps and runs that goes on at that Accord Speedway. But Martin Karch took down the win with Kelly Horner, Ed Stancliffe, Joe Allen, and Blake McCandless rounding out your top 5. Then over to the Brewerton Speedway, where last night Brewerton was dominated by the number 21, the 021 of Kelly Horner. Martin Karch finishing up 2nd. 3rd was John Wall. He's peeking right around the corner to get his first ever dirt win, but John Wall finishing 3rd. 4th was Todd Stanton, and 5th was Jeff Groover. Going to go over to the Mutt Series, part of Insomniac Motorsports, and the trifecta of the series is they run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over at Insomniac Motorsports, and they've had some pretty good numbers throughout all these series. And Dover was took by Kelly Horner. Horner again up atop of the Insomniac Mutt Series. Then Blake McCandless finished second, Joe Allen third. Fourth was Zach Rogers, and Greg Lavelle rounded out your top 5. The second week that we did miss was at Martinsville Speedway, another short track, and taking down the win was Joe Allen in that number 6 machine. Second was Taylor Morgan's. Third, Robert Balcom. Fourth was Greg Lavelle, and rounding out your top 5 was Derry Justice. And then we made it to the Phoenix Game Track, the Desert 200. Blake McCandless takes down the win in that number 02 machine. Joe Allen finishes second. Third was Robert Balcom. Herman Reese making a rare appearance at the Insomniac Motorsports, but Herman Reese inside the top 5, he finishes fourth. And Corey Carpenter rounds out your top 5. So that's all we're going to have here from Insomniac Motorsports.
And it was a fantastic couple of weeks over at IMS. Check those guys out as well. And I'm going to put the call out to everybody now as we're halfway through the weekly review here this week. And I know it's been a kind of elongated one as we've been off the air for a couple of weeks. But you can join the open table, roundtable discussion here coming up here in the next segment of the show. Find us in the SRA TeamSpeak. And we'd love to have you part of the conversation. A couple of different topics we'll get to here later on. So feel free to drop by through TeamSpeak to communicate with us. Drop down to the waiting room and we'll certainly pull you in and be part of the conversation as we move along here into the weekly review. I'm moving over to the Fuel Racing League here, Todd. The Fast Racing League. Had that screwed up on my list there. Fast Racing League a couple of weeks ago. The Dirt 3 Truck Series, first segment ran. It was Joey Fulfold taking down the win with Alex Gordon, William Page, and Davey Hazard. Ryan Pace rounded out your top 5. Next series over there at the Fast Racing League, the Dirt 3 Buggy Series. It's a cool little series there. They had a race held that was won by William Page, Davey Hazard, Alex Gordon, Ryan Pace, and Joey Fulfold will again once your top 5. And also a quick note from our friends at Fast Racing League. They got their new series coming up here starting in a couple of weeks, and they're going to do a lot of different kind of racing with fixed setups and open setups and a lot of cool different mods. And our friends at Fast Racing League, Todd, very proud to announce, Randall Colvin and all the guys, that they are the latest league to join us over at the Sim Racing Association. So come on over to SRA and you'll see the Fast Racing League and a lot of great things they got going on and a great group of guys and a whole bunch of fast racers. So check them out, Fast Racing.
Yeah, great group of guys, Fast Racing. Glad to have them part of the Sim Racing Association here. It's they're a fantastic league. I'm going to look forward to doing some of their open setup racing. That's highly, highly competitive open setup racing at Fast Racing, Phil. So I just can't wait. So we're getting to TDR Racing. We're going to go to TDR Racing and figure out who won some of these events. I'm going to start off with the Super Dirt Series, making its start on 117. Kelly Horner visited Victory Lane with a CHD 50 at Dodge County. Kelly Horner tops that event with Bruce Heil, Martin Karts, Joe Allen, and Fast Eddie Lee rounding out the top 5 for the TDR Super Dirt Series. Another series going down tomorrow night is the Super Dirt Series. Now we're going to take a peek at the TDR Super Speedway Series. That's been going on and starting to grow in numbers and in strength and in size. I believe we had 29 cars take the green flag on Saturday night. Anybody looking forward to a Super Speedway Series? Saturday night's the home of the TDR Super Speedway Series. But bringing down the win that we have from the Children's Miracle Network 150, that is Brandon Hawken. He brought down the win that night. That evening, then it was Ryan Johnson, Ricky Collette, Bruce Heil, and Charles Coots in that 5th spot. Next night was the Happy Holidays 150 from Talladega, the 2014 version. Whoop, excuse me, as I'm messing this up. Frank Divin from Talladega 2014 from the CHD Awareness 150. Frank Divin's taking down the win with Joe Allen running second, Ricky finishing third. The Flying Fossil, Keith Patton finishing 4th, and Fast Eddie Lee once again rounding out your top 5. Starting to see Eddie Lee's name, Phil, pick up just a little bit here inside the community. Starting to see more top 5s out of Eddie Lee. And then we go on to the next race. Craig Meyer takes down the win from this past Saturday night, followed by Frank Divins, Joe Allen, Bruce Heil, and Bobby Farrell. The Bobby rounding out your top 5 at the TDR Super Speedway Series. Then we make our way on over to the short track, the Sunday Night Stock Car Super Grip Series. Reaper taking down the win at the New Jersey Speedway, the New Jersey 125. That was Reaper, Martin Karts, Gary Piccolo, Phil Lucas, and Todd Truen, also known as Jackass, rounding out your top 5. The next event was the Toledo 125. That was brought home by Keith Patton. Again, the Flying Fossil aboard the number 69 machine. He finished up in first. Bruce Heil was second. TDR DUI finishing third. Fourth was Phil O'Cass. And Bean Man rounds out your top five. And then rounding out TDR sessions here was the Jennerstown 125 from the Jennerstown Night 2008 Speedway there. And that was took down by Bruce Heil. Keith Patton, Reaper, Phil Lucas, and Todd Truen rounds out your top five. That's all from TDR Racing, Phil.
Yeah, that Super Grip Series on Sunday night has been a lot of fun on the short tracks there. And moving over to the Fuel Racing League, they sent us a couple of great results here a couple of weeks ago. Just trying to touch on some of the stuff here in weeks gone by. The Fuel GoPro Super Truck Series ran the Chevy Silverado 250 at the Canadian Tire Speedway. It was Brandon Hawken picking up the win. Randall Coleman, Sean Whitehill, Ricky Collette, and Tyler Stallhead picked up the top five. Sunday nights, they ran the Fuel Brad's Internet Super Speedway Series, a double header every Sunday night for the guys at Fuel Racing League. The M&M's 100 at the Thunder Bay Speedway was won by William Page, with Philip Parker, Randall Coleman, Joshua Hawkins, and Sean Whitehill picking up the top five. They moved over next. Right afterwards, second half of the doubleheader, the Under Armour 100 was won by Jesse Klein, picking up the win at Fuel Motorsports, with Sean Whitehill, Randall Coleman, Joshua Hawkins, and Ricky Collette picking up the top five. 1 week later, the GoPro Super Truck Series was in action. The WinStar World Casino 400 was won by Chris Barnes. Joey Fulfold was second. Sean Whitehill third. Tyler Stallhead was fourth, and Ricky Collette was the top five. Another doubleheader night for the Brad's Internet Super Speedway Series last Sunday evening. The Can-Am 100. It was Randall Coleman picking up the win. William Page, Jesse Klein, Joshua Hawkins, and Sean Whitehill picking up your top five. Moving on over. Double headers on Sunday night at Fuel on the Super Speedways. A great series there. Some great car counts. The FedEx 100 was won by Mikey Marotta. A great win for Mikey there in the 064. Sean Whitehill, Charles Coates, Zach Griskowski, and Davey Hazard picked up your top five. So a lot of great racing going on at fast there, Todd. A great Super Speedway series they run on Sunday nights. They do double headers, and also the GoPro Super Truck Series on Friday nights. That's a really great series too. So check out the guys at Fuel Racing, also part of the Sim Racing Association.
I have a few little shout-outs to do for BGSR. I did not get many results from BGSR, but I know Rob Hayden's been extremely, extremely busy. I do have some of the winners from over the past couple of weeks, and just giving a shout-out to some of these winners. Mike Butler, 3 wins. Rob Hayden has 2 wins. Joe Bishop, 1 win. Jeff Kincaid, 1 win. Bobby Refuse, 1 win. Also, Jacob Lee and Bill Hall. Michael Butler also added another win. So Mike Butler had 4 wins from BGSR, and that's a collaboration of a bunch of different leagues. We got Cars and 4 Nights, and of course Rob Hayden's BGSR. So backyard garage sim racing. It's great to have them also a part here of the Sim Racing Association.
No, it certainly is. We welcome all those guys over, and anybody that would like to come over to the SRA Team Speak and be part of the open forum roundtable discussion. That's coming up here in just a couple of seconds here. But as we wrap up the weekly review, wrapping up 3 weeks worth of race results, heading on over to a quick blurb from the NRSL League from Zach Rodders. They ran the Hankook VA Supercar Challenge a couple of weeks ago at the Adelaide Speedway, and that was won by Zach Rodders. Jack Merkel finishing up second spot as a bumper grabbed in the last corner, propelling Zach to victory lane. They also ran on a Saturday night the Mountain Dew Voltage Online Racing Series at the Kansas Speedway. It was Zach Rodders using fuel strategy to pick up the W. Sean Whitehill had a black flag while leading it, took him out of the race, a caution-free race. It was Chris Barnes who had a really good truck. He finished up in that second spot and said it was a fuel gamble race there. Zach taking down the win and has a 9-point lead over Brandon Lawson there as they were 3 races into number 16. I know that was a couple of weeks ago over at NRSL, so check those guys out as well. Zach Rodders and all the guys do a lot of great racing there, Todd. All right, so I believe that wraps us up with the weekly review here. 2 or 3 weeks worth of racing there, Rich, Pat. And I know we haven't talked to you here in a little bit, but a lot of great racing being done all over the NASCAR Racing 2-on-3 community, and of course beyond it as well. As we open the show here, DRL Live, every week, we talk all things sim racing. If it's NR 2003, we're really deeply rooted. But if it's iRacing, R Factor, Project Cars, whatever else out there that leagues may have and run, we would love to hear about it. We want to highlight that here on DRL Live because we're all about all things sim racing. We welcome all results here. Ain't that right, Rich?
Yes, we do, and I can't help but laugh. I was watching the chat box here live on our talk show tonight on YouTube, and Noah just got hit hard by Nightbot. So just so you guys know, Nightbot is an automated service that we use out here to just kind of keep the chat box in check and kind of spread some information out here and there, and kind of enforce the rules through the TeamSpeak or through the YouTube chat. So tough break, Noah. He doesn't like all those smiley faces. Sorry about that. But yeah, we definitely, with taking a couple of weeks off, we had a lot of information to put out today. You guys had a lot of information from several different leagues to cover, a couple weeks worth of racing. So a lot of information you guys put out tonight for sure.
Well, we certainly did. And if you'd like your league to be represented a part of the weekly review, drop us an email, DRL Live at DRLnetwork.com. We'd love to have all your results here from any part of the sim racing world, regardless of where it comes from, league affiliations. I mean, we welcome all comers here, so we'd love to talk about it on this show. And, of course, our flagship, DRTV, DRL Network's live race coverage. You can book us now. Get your date live on DRTV by heading over to DRLnetwork.com, checking out all the great broadcast packages. And we got so many great races coming up here in the next couple of months. But, with the downtime here over this winter break, Todd, a lot of leagues are starting to gear up for the big spring series. When the NASCAR ranks and all the circles that run all the NASCAR stuff, we're going to have so many great leagues coming back into stuff here in the next couple of weeks. But we'll get to focus a lot on the talk show in the next couple of weeks and focus on some of the winter series racing that are wrapping up. I know a lot of series that are, getting to the conclusions of the winter series as they transition toward the springtime. And I think over the next couple of weeks, going to have a lot of great things to talk about.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great things to talk about over the next couple of weeks. We're going to find some champions here at some of these winter series. And some of these, like you said, Phil, some of these guys are going to be wrapping up with their winter series. And a lot of different announcements going on today through the NASCAR world. So how many people do you really think are going to change to that new system that NASCAR's come out with here in the sim racing community? It's awful confusing to me. And, the simplicity of racing's kind of got a little chaotic. But I see what they're trying to do. I see where they're trying to draw new interests and stuff. But I had to bring that up, Phil. I've been watching it here before I came on air, and it's going to be rather interesting for NASCAR. And I just want to see if the sim racing community is going to do the same.
I think you'll see a lot of leagues follow suit. I mean, it's kind of a one-trick pony with the NASCAR circles. I think you'll see some of the more, dedicated leagues to that type of racing. I'll go try this new format. And, as far as rewarding race wins and having race wins carry over to all the season. I mean, I know the NASCAR news is really fresh as they made that announcement about 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. And, I was like getting on here tonight. I'm usually more prepared than I am coming in with a whole lot more talking points and whatnot. But I'll have to do some more research on as far as the changes for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. I mean, Monster Energy Cup Series, another new thing we get to talk about this year is we get into the real NASCAR circles and, all the leagues out there that'll follow the Monster Energy Cup Series. And one of the very new things here in 2017 we'll have to keep an eye on as we get to these spring months.
Yeah, definitely one of them things we're going to have to keep our eye on over the spring months. We'll have to see what happens with what's going on with the Monster Series and what's going to go on with most of these sim racing series and see what's going to happen. I've seen a lot of posts already today from the Sim Racing Association from some of these leagues mentioning about some of this stuff. But I'm going to throw it down to Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton. We haven't talked much to him tonight. Rich, how's it going here tonight?
Going pretty good. Not being too bad busy wise. Got a lot of things going on in real life, but we're here and keeping things going as they are. Let me turn this down so I don't get no echoing. But we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. Usually when we do the speed rounds, I would post the speed round information up there for the world to see, and you guys normally do not know what's coming till it hits you. But tonight the speed rounds are going to be kind of in your hands. I know the first one we want to talk about, and I will run the timers for these, but we're going to kick off into the first speed round as we go, and the first speed round is going to be the topic of hot pitting. How do you guys take hot pitting? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's going to be a very charged subject here tonight as we talk about hot pitting. And some leagues, Todd, out there, some will legislate it, some don't want it in their leagues, and some other leagues, it's a part of racing. And I mean, you think about it. And of course, we focus mainly on NASCAR 2003, so we kind of leave the chat around that. But I mean, it's an old game. I mean, 2003 season, that's a long time ago now, as we're on 14 years of this game going alive and strong. So, I mean, it's an old game. I mean, you're going to find glitches in the game, but most of the time, Todd, if you get onto pit road hot and, you don't time that thing right, that game's usually going to get you with a black flag. You're going to have to come in and serve, but I don't know how you feel about it, but some of the leagues out there that may go as far as micromanaging how fast you get on and off pit road and trying to over micromanage and legislate how things are done. I think that takes some of the steam out of this game. I really do. I don't mind the hot pitting if one guy has that skill that's able to get on and off pit road and make all that time. I mean, that's just an advantage. That's something that you can certainly put a whole lot of time into practicing and perfecting your craft on. But I'm okay with hot pitting. I hate how leagues will legislate it if they go that far, and it was up to me. I just rather not do it, Todd. I'm not sure how you feel about that subject. It was a very, very touchy subject in this community.
Definitely is a touchy subject in the community. Hot pitting. I mean, if legislated right, you really can do some good feats with it. You have to do it through the whole field. You have to spend a lot of time on replay review, and kudos to those who want to spend the time on the replay review of that. But you also got to realize some of the things that do go on with some of that replay review is that, Phil, you got to judge like the timing and scoring part of it. You're watching from your replay. Necessarily, it's 4 to 5 miles an hour off when you're watching different replays. It may be sometimes even 3 miles an hour off, but it varies. It varies from your connection. It varies from hops, and a lot of times you could be at 55 miles an hour on your screen, but I'm going to tell you right now, on their screen, you're going to be going 56, 57, 58 miles an hour. And to that's hot pitting. My opinion on hot pitting is I don't like it. I don't like the portion of that hot pitting because you have to give it back at some point going down pit road. You're hot pitting. You're coming in hot, but the game's going to get you. The game will eventually get you. You're going to hot pit enough where it's going to get you. I mean, I've come in hot, and I'll tell you right now, guys like David Day or guys like or some of these guys that have been busted for hot pitting throughout the community. And it's not just David. I've seen Chris Hart get busted. I've seen myself get busted. I don't even know if you've got. I don't even know. I mean, but hot pitting is going to be that portion of things. And I just hate to say people's names in the community, but I know people have been busted. But, you know, in my opinion, Phil, I don't like it. I think it's too much time for an admin to sit there, and they have to go through every single guy because somebody's going to get called out on it. And it's the fact of the matter that you're going to have to give it back. You have to give it back on there. I've had the guys that have a good pit stop, but you're also taking away from the guys that can hold it at 55 miles an hour all the way down the line. Maybe that guy's hot pitting because he can't hold that gas pedal all the way down through pit road at 55 miles an hour. I know I can't hold it steady at 55 miles an hour, but now you're giving an advantage to those guys who can hold it at 55 miles an hour all the way down through pit road.
Well, it's certainly a very emotionally charged subject there as we talk about hot pitting. And, you know, I've had races taken away from me. I know Todd's had races taken. I know a lot of guys have had it done, and I'm not sure what your feelings on it. We welcome all to come in as part of the roundtable and, you know, discuss this topic or anything else we talk about on the show here tonight. But, Rich, I know you're a guy, you ran around a long time. You ran a league for many, many years very successfully. I know you guys for a long time legislated the hot pitting. So I want to hear your thoughts on this, Rich.
Yeah, I'll make it quick as the timer's counting down. We're down to 40 seconds left. The way I see hot pitting is, yes, it's a glitch in the game. I think there's a huge difference between rule breakers and rule benders, and I think hot pitting falls into the rule bending / rule breaking category. I personally wouldn't do it. You know, when I ran leagues, I definitely caught people doing it, and it was a rule that I didn't condone or you know, that we enforced, and I just don't believe it's something in an honest racer. I think if you're an honest racer and you follow the rules and you don't bend the rules, I don't think you'll hot pit. But the ones that push the issues and bend the rules, those are the ones you got to keep up with. And it makes an admin's, you know, night a little more difficult to have to go back instead of having fun racing. So I think it's a bad thing. I don't think people should take advantage of it, and I don't like it personally.
All right. Well, we welcome all guys to come in and be part of the discussion. Find us in the SRA TeamSpeak here on TeamSpeak 3. Be a part of this discussion or anything else we may talk about as far as this week's installment of DRL Live. I see some guys in the waiting room, and we'll pull them into the conversation as we head toward the roundtable discussion here in our Q&A section. But Todd, we move on to our next subject of the night I want to talk about here as far as the speed round. And, it's something here, it's kind of a little bit of a backstory too, but racing while you're adminning a race, which is something that is very hard to do, and I know a lot of guys out there that may run and administrate in leagues. It's a hard, tedious, thankless task, and as all admins like to do, we like to get out on the racetrack and mix it up and be part of the conversation and be part of the action of it. And we're all competitors, we're all racers at heart here, but the responsibility, Todd, that comes with being a race administrator and doing your job out there. I mean, does it put you in a different realm as an administrator? Rather, meaning, are you held to a higher standard? Do the drivers out on the racetrack, are they supposed to hold you to a higher standard, or are they supposed to treat you just like any other competitor out there?
Well, when you're out on the racetrack as an admin, you shouldn't be thought of as anything but a racer. You shouldn't be held. I hold myself to a higher standard, trying not to wreck people and trying not to run over somebody. But we're also out there. We're racers. We make mistakes, and admins should own up to their mistakes if they do make the mistakes. I hold myself to a higher standard when I'm out on the track with other people and I'm adminning out on the track. Yes, I do hold myself to a higher standard. Should they hold me to a higher standard? Should they race me any different? No, absolutely not. You race me as hard as you want to race me. You don't back out of it. You got to trust me to not be and make a call on you that you think is going to be over the top, or you think I'm going to make some sort of call that's going to damage you. So I'm not, in my opinion. You should not hold me to a different standard at all when I'm on the racetrack. Now, as an admin, should you respect me and respect my calls? Yes. If you want to argue with me after the race, that's fine. Don't argue with me during the race about a call that I've made. Now, I've done this from two different aspects, Phil. I've also done Eye in the Sky, and I ran a successful league for many, many years doing an Eye in the Sky kind of routine, and we had admins that actually did Eye in the Sky. But I enjoy racing just as well as the next person, and I do kind of agree with the adminning of races inside the race. But to be held to a higher standard, no. I think we're all racers, and I think that we should be drove the same way as you want to drive somebody. You just don't back out because I'm an admin, and you're going to let me win because I'm an admin because you don't want to step on my toes.
As said, another very charged up subject here as a part of tonight's speed round here on DRL Live. And Rich Patton, I know you've been around a long time, as we've said. And how do you feel about adminning while being behind the wheel? And do you expect the drivers around you to hold you to a higher standard, or do you expect any more of them as far as being on the racetrack goes when you put yourself in that role?
Well, I think first off, you have to understand, at least this is my point of view on it, you have to understand the role of the admin and why they're admins in the first place. To me, back when I ran my leagues, the admins were the ones that had the league at heart. They were the ones that would enforce the rules, but would follow the rules to the letter, be fair, race clean, and make sure the event went through flawless. Now, with that in mind, I never had a problem with admins being in the race as long as, they were able to keep up with the commands required and able to, keep things under control and running the event smoothly. That's easier said when you've got a small group or you've got a field of a bunch of regular drivers that are very familiar with working with each other. Also, as an admin, if you're in the race, I always thought it was necessary, if you're in a tight spot and you've got to run commands or whatever, to me, it's the admin's responsibility to pull up and get out of the way and let the racers continue on around them until they get it situated and then dive back into the thing. I don't think being an admin is a position that allows you to be a hazard on the track. And, if you can't admin while you're racing and you are a hazard, then that admin should be watching from above and not put the hazard on the track and make sure that the event runs smooth. Bottom line to me, the admin's job is always to have the league at heart, enforce the rules to the letter, keep the event running smooth, and if you can't do that without being a hazard on the track, then you shouldn't be on the track. That's my own belief.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's an angle that can be definitely covered from two angles, and I think it's two topics we've talked about here in the speed round that can certainly stimulate a whole lot of conversation. So we open the floor now as we move toward the roundtable discussion here tonight as a part of this week's edition of DRL Live. I see guys waiting down in the waiting room, so let's see if we can't bring them into the conversation as we move into our open roundtable forum and discussion. I believe we're going to be joined by Mr. Fast Eddie Lee from Insomniac Motorsports, and also Noah Carmichael, who's been out in this community for a little while here. We've seen him racing up and down the racetrack. So, Eddie, Noah, welcome to the DRL Live. Good to have you guys.
Thanks, great to be here.
Well, first of all, guys, and I know we've talked about a lot here tonight about, of course, the discussions here in the speed rounds as far as hot pitting goes and as far as race admitting and do you hold them to a higher standard? But Noah, I'm going to ask you this first. I know we got Eddie here as well, and I of course, want to pick his brain on a couple of these subjects. But, what would you like to talk about, and how do you feel about these two subjects we've talked about so far tonight?
Well, I'm not an admin, so I can't really put my opinion where it doesn't belong because, I'm not really an admin. I don't know what goes through their head when they do this kind of stuff when it comes to hot pitting. I can understand on both parties, of how you can be used to cheating, where you can go into the pits, but you can slow down and you can get an advantage when it can be somewhat hazardous. But, it is what it is. I race Insomniac, and they have the hot pitting rules, so I've grown used to that, and it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really hurt me at all. So it's not really a big deal when it comes to hot pitting, so I don't really care, to be honest.
All right. Also, we're joined here in the booth by Fast Eddie Lee from Insomniac Motorsports. And Eddie, I know, owner of the Insomniac Racing Stables, and of course, that hot Super Speedway Series, the hottest Super Speedway Series in the entire NR Racing 2003 community, Eddie. So first of all, congratulations on that. And I know you probably got a couple of charged topics here to talk about here tonight.
Oh, these topics are really charged up at our place. Let's start with the hot pitting. The hot pitting rule, the reason why the Insomniac Motorsports uses that hot pitting rule is we have some drivers in this community that really can push that rule and push the limits. And people were asking, when I first came out in the community, people were asking, no matter how great I pit, how are these guys gaining 3 seconds on me? What we found is that as administrating a race, as administrators, there's very few places that you can control a race. And one of the places you can control that race is at the pit road line. And what we do is we use your front bumper. You take Talladega and Daytona, we use your front bumper, we measure it at the line at 55 mile an hour. At that point, everybody's coming into road, or at pit road, even. From there on, your talent of holding it at 55, getting close to the wall, things like that, make a difference. Because to tell you what, I used to run years ago with TTR, and we used to spend hours practicing between 90 and 105 mile an hour hitting that pit line and getting it down and beating the clock. Now I'm going to tell you what, if you got one guy hitting that line at 55 and the next guy hitting that at between 90 and 105, there's your 3 seconds. So we have taken that away. As far as administrating, I think it's great to administrate in a race as long as you have to get out of the car and look at a replay, because if you try to make a call inside the car, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be wrong on what you saw. You have to get out and at least look at that replay. But as far as administrate, I agree with all. Everybody can do that as long as they do it right and fair. That's about all I got on them 2 subjects.
Well, I know Charles was chiming in the chat box, and Charles, on these 2 subjects, I don't know if those are the subjects that you were chiming in on, but I know we slaughtered your name here this evening. You probably can correct us now if you really wanted to here live on the air, but yeah, chime in on these 2 subjects. They're quite loaded questions for NASCAR 2003.
I would say to Eddie's point about the hot pitting, I'm just going to let the game administer it. If a guy crosses the line at 95 and the pit road speed's 55, I'll see that. I'll get him after the race. But if a guy's hot pitting and it's 57 or 58 and the game doesn't catch it, no harm, no foul. That's not a big deal. I don't see the need of sitting down and going through the entire race again and spending 3 hours watching a replay to try and catch that. That takes the fun out of it for me. And as far as adminning during the race, I don't feel like I'm issuing any commands to the game other than clearing a black flag, maybe adding a lap. Other than that, and I have those set as hotkeys on my wheel, so all I got to do is reach up and punch in the number on my keyboard, hit enter. I think the drivers, they need to as drivers, people need to realize, we are clearing your black flag for you, and I'm going to do it in a safe manner. I'm not going to do it in the middle of a corner. I'm not going to I'm trying to try not to put everybody else in danger while I'm doing it. But I'm not going to stop racing because the driver on the inside line on a 2-wide restart got past the guy on the outside of him. He should hold his position. He should know to hold his position. And be aware. I got 3 laps to clear the black flag. Just remain patient. I'll get to you. It doesn't all have to be done before we're on the back stretch.
No, and I think you guys all bring up really, really valid points, as you said there. The clearing of the black flags. It's certainly a thankless job there, Charles, and I'm sorry to step up on you. I wasn't sure if you were done with the thought, but, I think any of you guys can contribute to adminning in this community, or as far as any, I don't care what game you're playing. If it's, of course, we deeply root ourselves in NASCAR 2003, but if you're into iRacing or R-Factor or Project Cars or whatever kind of racing sim out there, if you're as far as the race administration, it's a very long and tedious and sometimes awfully thankless job, but I'm sure you guys are probably agree to that.
Yes,
I'm not in it for being famous.
Exactly.
Sorry, buddy.
I was just going to say the same thing you. It's just the love of the game and the love of people. I am not in this to be famous.
That's about the same, I fear.
And I'm kind of a jerk too, so I'm pretty good at dishing out penalties if I need to. I don't really care.
I think we're all pretty good at that. Go ahead, Todd. You had a thought.
Well, it's more than a thought. It's more of a question to Charles because we're talking about this hot pitting subject, and he says 58 miles an hour. But where does that stop? Where do you at the end of the race, Charles, go back and say, oh, this guy was going 65. I'm going to penalize him. But where does it stop? Where's your limit at with hot pitting if you're going to give somebody a penalty for it?
Well, I'll tell you something. Let me tell you a little story, Todd. I have a bunch of guys in my league. We'll leave them nameless. But I've got a couple guys that like to read the rule book and try and find all my little gray areas and try and find all the little loopholes.
Rule bender.
And try and exploit them. And I created a rule called the common sense rule. And if you violate what should be common sense, then it's in the rule book. I can penalize you for it. It's just a general rule to clean up all that stuff. I think if someone is trying to gain a big advantage by hot pitting and doing it, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's 5 over, 10 over, whatever. But I think if it's something I can see him trying to exploit, then that's something we need to address. But if it's 1 or 2 miles an hour, I don't see the. I'm not going to get too worried about it at all.
Well, of course, here DRL Live on the air again tonight. Rich Patton, Todd Stanton, Phil LaCasse up here in the booth, joined by our friends Eddie Lee, Charles Coates, and Noah Carmichael up here in the booth, guys. And we appreciate you guys being a part of the round table. Anybody welcome to come and be a part of the discussion. Find us inside the Sim Racing Association Team Speak and be part of this conversation, guys. But, Rich Patton, something Charles struck on right there. The common sense rule. That sounds like something that may be really good one day for maybe a don't drink the Kool-Aid, maybe?
Yeah, maybe one day. We'll have to look into that. One downside, and not to knock Charles, I think it's a great rule. I think common sense is what's really needed in a lot of races. The downside to that is what's common sense to one may not be common sense to another. And I think, unfortunately, it goes back to what I said about rule breakers versus rule benders. And, to me, what takes the fun out of it and makes it more of a job than...
As we talk about topics in the speed round, which I think
I think the question I have is, there's a lot of big races that are out there. Every league mostly has their own big race, like how NRSL had their rally race a couple weeks ago, or Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So I think my question would be, out of all the races this season, what's one of the big races that you guys are going to participate in that you're looking forward to?
Todd, I'm going to let you answer that one first. I got to put some thought to that one.
Participate in as far as broadcasting, participate in as far as racing. No.
I guess it could be either because I forgot about the fact that you guys broadcast a lot of those races.
I tell you, I look forward to, broadcasting wise. I look forward just to every one of them. They all have their unique little twist. It is awesome to broadcast them. As far as racing in general, it may not even be a big race that I'm interested in. I've always liked that atmosphere, but a lot of times I've kept myself out of it. I've been an admin of those big races and trying to give to the community that way, because sometimes the big races just don't cut my format. And lately I've been liking the Super Speedway series and the numbers that they've been growing. I'm a short track guy, but I've had my ups and downs with super speedways, and those are the biggest things right now that are going here in the NASCAR 2003 community. I've seen some other things that have been going on, but big races, I haven't seen a lot of them. I mentioned the IROC series that's going to go on here, I believe, here shortly. I've kind of looked forward to racing in that one, but super speedway series is in general. I'm at IMS and I'm at TDR. Any given week, Blazing Pedals, if I can get there, any of those bigger super speedway series races, they give you kind of like a big race feel, and that's what I enjoy myself.
I'll echo on that here, Todd. As far as answering Noah's question, as far as stuff we're looking forward to in 2017, I'm really looking forward to getting out back on the dirt and maybe upping my game on the dirt, talking from a personal standpoint and, seeing what might go. I know we've been in discussions as far as the dirt expanding out here and unleashing a humongous series in 2017 as far as the Wicked Designs Dirt Late Model Tour, which I know we did and coincided our friends at TDR and Insomniac Motorsports, and I hope we get to expand on that in 2017. But as far as the broadcast sector, and I'm glad Noah asked that question because it got me to forward thinking a little bit. But I think the things I'm looking forward to most of broadcasting in 2017, I know we have a great event coming up in a couple of months for our friends at SMO, as far as we're going to pay tribute to our friends and our service members and whatnot and the first responders. And also I know there's going to be some races coming out of TDR as well. And I know TDR for a couple of years has done something with DRTV with the Salute the Hero series. So I think from a broadcast standpoint, anytime we can say thank you and pay tribute to any of our troops and our servicemen, I'm all about that. And I think that's something, Rich, even you would agree on.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that Todd brought up the question, because that's what I was thinking when the question first came up. I think it's a really good question, and the first time it was mentioned or asked, that's the first thing I thought about. Are you talking about racing, or are you talking about broadcasting, since we do all of it? And I'm glad that kind of opened the door for all that. And yeah, just like you mentioned, Phil, I'm really excited because we've got quite a few things scheduled with SMO. And right off the top of my head, we're looking at April 15th, the 9th annual Race for a Cure. We've done that for the last few years with SMO, and it turns out to be one heck of an event. And, I don't remember all the details off my top of my head. I don't have the information in front of me, but I know they do a lot of stuff with donating money for the Race for the Cure for Cancer and all that good stuff. And there's commercials that were specifically made for the event last time, and I'm sure there will be again this time. And Jamie Tedder over there puts off one heck of a show. Also, we're going to be doing that 7th annual Hawk Tribute race, which we've also done with them in the past. So I'm looking forward to that a lot as well. Another big show that they put on in remembrance of one of their drivers. And then, of course, like you mentioned, Phil, the honoring our armed forces race that we have later on in the year with them as well. So 3 huge events that we're looking forward to as far as broadcasting is concerned. As far as driving goes, I kind of hung up my wheel. It sits down here behind underneath my desk anymore, so I don't get out and race much anymore. I try to stay away from the computer when we're not broadcasting and try to take a break from it all so I don't get burnt out, basically. So that's my side of it all.
Well, that was great questions there from Noah Carmichael. But let's move over to Charles Coates here, who's up in the booth here. Charles, what do you got for us this week here on DRL Live, my friend?
I really don't have a whole lot. I just wanted to comment on the earlier questions. I guess I'd like to go ahead and announce that keep your eye out on the SRA Facebook page. We're going to be opening up registration for our Fast Sunday Wannabes Classic Cup Series. We're going to start racing Sunday, February 5th at Daytona. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, and also great news coming out this week at the Fast Racing League has joined us over at SRA. So, Charles, and all you guys over at Fast, and really excited to be part of SRA, and can't wait to see where the next couple of months are going to take us. I think we got a lot of great things coming up, and especially for you guys at Fast, you got a lot of great racing going on.
Yeah, we do. I think one of the biggest things we've had to learn coming over to the SRA is you guys do a lot of fixed setup races. We try and have 2 or 3 open setup series. So that'll be a little different for some of your SRA members and the other folks listening.
Well, we certainly do. And, speaking of things that have been around for a long time and have seen this community uptown and sideways, our good friend, Mr. Fast Eddie Lee, up here in the booth from Insomniac Motorsports. So, Ed, let's throw the microphone your way. What do you got good for us this week, bud?
Well, only thing I got good is I've read a post and I've seen it in different places. And what is community? We started that concept in the community around here, and the only thing, I guess, to just give a plug, if people don't understand what community is, come to SRA, come to Insomniac Motorsports Friday Night Super Speedway Race, where we're represented on any Friday night from 15 different servers and leagues. And it's about resources all brought into one place. That's my answer on community. I'm asking you guys.
Well, I think we know where a lot of us stand as far as community goes. But community to me, Todd, and I know you agree with me as well, but it's about having the open doors of communication, free-flowing information, resources, how to put big events on, and just keeping this community as kind of as a whole. I know we're so centrally rooted in NR 2003, but, we keep it here, but we talk about expanding it to other horizons as well and different sims. I know we see a lot of that as far as our friends in the SRA, but we invite anybody from all walks of life. I don't care if you come outside the SRA circle or not. We welcome you to come and hang out. We'd like to hear what you got going on. And, to all those leagues out there who may be out there, we'd like to get their name out there as well, because we may be a community as far as in the SRA, but as far as a gaming community as all, especially sim racing, the more doors you have open and the more communication you have within league to league, regardless of where your servers come from, where you're racing at, the open door communication and driver sharing and just the welcoming of everybody, I think that's a key and vital thing that's going to keep sim racing good for a really, really long time.
Yeah, Phil, I have to echo your thoughts with that. It's keeping the door open. It's keeping it open to everybody. Anybody that wants to race, we don't tell you any indifferent. Nobody's banned at SRA. No, everybody can race here at Sim Racing Association. We have Sim Racing Association events. We have many different leagues in SRA. And not only that, we're in to help those who don't want to be a part of SRA. I mean, it's a team speak. That's all it is, guys. It's open door communication between leagues, big races, like you said, Phil. If you don't want to be a part of that, we're all of us here at SRA are willing to help any league out there. It's just one of those things that you need help. Stop in SRA and we'll help you get going. You have game issues. We got many people here that know how to fight through some of these game issues. I'll tell you that right now with Windows 10 and Windows 7 and DEP and all that kind of jazz that's going on there. Even some other computer issues. Some of these guys around the community can solve those issues and help you out. And that's the biggest thing is help and being able to help your fellow racers have fun. And that's what the community is all about, is to have fun and not to take it out on one another, but to have fun. And I know tempers do flare, and it's racing. They're going to flare, but the name of the game is have fun. When you stop having fun, it's time to hang it up. And that's one of those things that even I've said in racing, and my father said in racing, you stop having fun, Todd, racing, it's time to hang it up. And you don't get that excitement level anymore. It's time to go. And I still get that. I still shake when I win a race. So that's my level of excitement. So I echo your thoughts, Phil.
And I know, Rich, we talk about the word community, and it's just, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek word here, and some have a different view about it. But as far as DRTV goes and DRL Network, I mean, I think that's what sets us apart from everybody else out there who may do what we do, is just the open door communication we keep with everybody, that we're open to all, regardless of where their race servers come from. If they'd like to be a part of what we do as far as the talk show or even having their live race broadcast on air, I mean, I think that's where we set the standard, is just that free-flowing, being completely community-based and open to all. And I think we hit it out of the park like nobody else does.
Oh yeah, most definitely. When we first started doing this in the broadcasting stuff, for one, we started out kind of local, stuck with 1 or 2 leagues. We only did broadcasts for leagues that requested us, and everything was just based off of donations for our time and all that. And as things grew, we realized that we need to open the doors. We needed to have high standards, and we needed to be able to push those standards across no matter what we were dealing with, no matter if it's a Race LM server or if it's an NRT server or if you've got your own, dedicated server somewhere where you're running the game on. As long as, we're set up in a position now, as long as we can connect to your race server via IP, I don't care where you're hosting it at. We can give you the same quality show no matter, who you're at. And as long as you've got some form of communication, whether it's a TeamSpeak, a Mumble, whatever else you're using out there, as long as we can get a hold of it, we're in the position to where we can pretty much take on anybody out there that runs the NR 2003 game in any form or fashion. And, because of our versatility, it makes us available to the entire community, no matter how big or how small your league is. And that's always been the focus, is we always wanted to be accessible to every single entity in the community, and I think we've accomplished that over the years. And to me, the community is all about helping each other and using other leagues to promote your leagues. And maybe you run a league that only races 2 or 3 nights a week. Well, push your drivers onto other leagues that race on the other nights. And I've even ran leagues before to where I work with 2 or 3 different leagues, just as SRA is doing now, working between each other. But we would actually schedule out a full week. All right, you take these 2 nights, you take these 2 nights, you take these 2. And next thing you know, all 3 leagues would have full car counts every night they were racing. And it just made for good racing. And everybody got to race a lot with each other, so everybody learned each other. And I think it's a plus for the community when you've got all the leagues working together. I think we've seen too many leagues over the last few years and quite a while now that have just failed and went away because they've gotten to the point to where, they've secluded themselves. They've tried to keep their drivers in their league only. They didn't want their name being out in any other leagues. They just tried to stay secluded, and that's just not the way it is anymore. I mean, too many people out there, if they want to race, they want to be able to get on there no matter what night it is and go race somewhere. And when drivers have the capability of doing that and the leagues are working together, it's just better for everybody in the long run, I think.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Well, I know we're here in the open and answer, the question and answer segment of the show, and I see one more name popping into the conversation. And before we move to our final segment of the show, let's see if we can't get our friend Joseph Weaver in the booth up here. Weaver, buddy, what do you got to add to the conversation for us this week?
Well, I just had a quick question pop up in my mind for y'all. Sort of a hot issue now coming in to this picture of the SRA, and I just wanted your take on, you're in a super speedway race, and you've made it known to another racer that you're not into getting bump drafted all the time, but they persistently do it, and you call them out. What is your next step of action in that situation?
Wow, that's a great question. I know, Todd, you're I know you guys are a lot better restricted plate racers than I am, but Rich, I'll give it to you first. I think you got a good thought for this one.
I think it's an interesting question. I think it's a question, and don't take this the wrong way, Weaver, but I think it's a question that maybe, if this is you, I'm sorry, but if it's the driver that's being bump drafted on a super speedway track and they don't want to be bump drafted, I kind of question, what's the super speedway track about? Now, on the other hand of that, if it's bump drafting through the corners or through a tri-oval where the track's at a bank and it's just not safe unless they're really squared up, I think bump drafting in those particular areas on the track really depend on who you're working with, who's behind you, and whatnot. Because, I know when I'm on super speedways, and I love super speedways because I love the whole drafting game and I love the whole bump drafting game. But there are certain drivers that I've raced with over the years that I'm okay if they're bump drafting me in the corners, but the majority of people, I wouldn't want them anywhere near me. And the only thing I would recommend if this is a personal situation is step aside and let them by and follow them. Wait your turn. Everybody knows super speedway racing, bump draft racing is a patience game. It's a high-speed chess match. If you don't like something somebody's doing, get away from them. And, when the opportunity comes up down the road, pass them by, don't help them. They're going to get locked in a bottom line or a top line or whatever. It's easy to get away from people on a super speedway in my mind, especially when bump drafting is involved. And bump drafting is all about teammates. So you pick and choose who you want to work with the best, and you learn who can bump draft you squarely every time. And those that can't, kind of keep their fenders away from them. That's all I could say.
And speaking of teammates who can find their way to victory lane on super speedways, Mr. Too Tall Todd Stanton, I know you've had a couple of victories here recently as well, so I want to hear your take on this same question.
Well, it all depends on you know, I have people that I do favor bump drafting me. I have people that I don't favor that I'm very uncomfortable around, and my course of action, as far as I would have to echo Rich. I would get away from them. If they're bump drafting, and they're actually going and making you uncomfortable, I get away from them. Yeah, I know you can utilize the draft, and if they're making you uncomfortable, most generally they're making other people uncomfortable. And that's the thing is maybe they're bump drafting in the corners or that tri-oval at Talladega or even around Daytona. If you feel uncomfortable, I get away from them, and then I'd make my charge later in that event. It's one of those things. I mean, if you feel that uncomfortable where you think it's detrimental to racing and that series, I would approach to an admin about it. If that guy's an actual admin that's actually pump drafting you, I'd approach another admin. But myself, I think it's easy enough to get away from some of those guys. And like I said, most generally, if you're uncomfortable around that guy, a lot of other people are too.
Well, Weaver, I don't know where to go with that one. As a guy who's, I guess, probably the chicken of the group here, that will probably just sit around at those super speedways all night long and probably putts around the back. I don't know. I get intimidated by that guy up on me bump drafting, and depending on who it is, because I think we all kind of get a grasp after you race with guys a while who you can race with, who you can't. And as far as bump drafting, I mean, I'm for it if you can do it, but if guys make you uncomfortable, I kind of take the sentiment of maybe it's time to get out of there.
And just to add on another note of that, I've been in races before, where I've had guys that were on my bumper constantly through the corner, and I'm usually pretty solid with them. And if I feel a little bit loose in the corner, I'll just go across TeamSpeak. Hey, back off in the corners, man. I'm getting loose. Just make it known that there might be an issue. And sometimes, a respectful driver will back off going into the corners because they're not going to lose anything.
The only thing I want to add to that is if you went to the driver and talked to him, and it's not changing, and before it festers into a personal situation, it spills over onto the speedway during the race and ruins maybe yours or a lot of other people's race, I would probably at least alert administration of what's up. They could keep their eye open and not try to take it in your own hands. If I heard you say earlier you had already talked to this person, if it's becoming a problem, like Todd said, you may want to take it to the next step up because eventually it'll spill over onto the track.
Well, I think that's a great sentiment there. And Weaver, that was a fantastic question. And guys, Joseph Weaver, Noah Carmichael, Charles Coates, and Fast Eddie Lee, thanks for being a part of the conversation tonight. We welcome you guys aboard, and we hope to talk to you again here real soon on DRL Live. Thanks for giving us something to talk about, guys.
Thank you.
No problem. It's fun.
Thank
They're
you.
definitely one of our most interactive groups thus so far. So great job, guys.
It was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you again for being a part of it.
Do you guys mind if I give out a quick shout out real quick?
Oh, sure. Before we move on to the end of the show, go on, Noah. What do you got for us?
So if some of you guys know that you're in the NASCAR community, there's a league called NRSL that's ran by Zach Rogers. I'm a part of that league. I've ran in there. Heck, I was in the rally race that you guys broadcasted a few weeks ago that I was talking about. They have a league, the Hankook V8 Supercar Series. I know you guys were doing that review about it earlier in the show. I just want to give a quick shout out to people who might be in there looking for something to do on like Thursday nights. They have that race going on there. It's something different than what you might be used to of like normal road course racing, normal super truck racing. It's like V8 supercars on these really tight, fast tracks out in Australia. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed racing there, and I'd encourage most people to want to go out and maybe give an attempt to it because they're getting not a lot of entries over there, and it's at the risk of maybe not being able to run. So I really don't want that league to go because that's a really unique kind of series, and it's fun to be in, and I really hate to see something like that go.
Well, no, that's exactly the kind of conversation we welcome here on DRL Live. And anybody looking to do that kind of off-road tracking and road course type of feel, the Hankook Supercar Series over at NRSL, certainly a great place to go and a good league to run. And Noah, thanks for a couple of words. And all you guys, once again, thank you for being part of the conversation this week. We certainly do appreciate it. We'll talk to you again here real soon.
Thank you, no problem.
All right,
Thanks.
so that's Joseph Weber, Noah Carmichael, Charles Coots, and Fast Eddie Lee guys being part of the conversation this week as we let them get out of the broadcast channel here and we move on, guys. But it's been a fantastic show, guys. We know a really interactive group, as Todd said. But Rich, believe it's time to move into our closing part of the show, and I believe that'd be DRL Hot Takes.
Yes, we now enter into hot takes.
All right, guys, so it's time for this week's edition of DRL Hot Takes, and a disclaimer I read every week before we do a hot take is the thoughts and opinions expressed in DRL Hot Takes are solely that of its author and not those that are indicative of DRL Network, its partners, clients, or affiliates. The intent of DRL Hot Takes is for us to give our honest opinions in a completely unfiltered format to create conversation and topics for further discussion and debate. So on behalf of all of you guys, it's time for DRL Hot Takes, and I'm not sure, Todd, if you got one this week, but I'm going to throw it to you first.
This week I'm kind of drawing a blank on the hot takes version of things, and it's I'm not sure why. Usually I'm pretty full of piss and vinegar and able to do some of these hot takes, but this week I'm drawing a blank, Philly, and I'm sorry I can't help you guys out this week, but I don't have any hot take.
Well, and that's perfect because I was hoping you'd walk right into my trap because the subject of my hot take tonight is being on time and being prepared. There is nothing worse, guys, and I'm sure every league and every driver has gone through this before. But the whole point of being on time and being prepared to do what you're going to do, and I don't care if it's a race, I don't care if it's a show like we're doing here at DRL Live, and I'm the first to hate on myself tonight, not being prepared, having a lot of family stuff going on, and probably being in the broadcast mode probably 20 minutes before showtime. So I'm hoping all our viewers tonight have enjoyed the show. But as far as being on time, being prepared, leagues being on your stuff. If you advertise your race is going to start at 9 p.m., we need to get these races started on time, guys. Guys spend an awful lot of time sitting in front of the computer when they probably have other stuff they probably need to go do in their personal life. And, a lot of guys probably with families and wives and jobs and responsibilities don't have a lot of time to spend. And I know there's a lot of leagues out there do a lot of great racing, and a lot of leagues like we do here in the SRA like to work together and not run over the top of each other. So to all the leagues out there, be on time, be prepared, have a clue what's going on, and send these races to a good show and send them out the door very happy. So I think, guys, that would be my hot take for the week. And, Rich, I'm not sure you have a hot take, but I'm going to throw it over to you because I'm not sure you get a hot take or an edition of Don't Drink the Kool-Aid. But as far as that being prepared and being on time, I think that's something all of us up here in the DRTV booth every week, we can certainly take to heart.
Yeah, okay, you got me. So not always prepared, usually running around my head cut off trying to get things going, and I don't really have a hot take for myself, but to add on to your being on time, I think you guys can attest to this. On broadcast night, I'm always the one running around with my head cut off trying to get things together, making sure that I keep pushing you guys. I want to go live, make sure we get on the air when we're supposed to be on there, when we tell our race runs we're going to be on there, and it literally kills me if I don't make those deadlines. I try to stay very schedule oriented or goal oriented. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And Phil and Todd, I look at both of you guys as being really good friends of mine, and we work well together. But I gotta admit, Todd drives me nuts every time we do a broadcast. It just drives me nuts.
Oh, I couldn't have said that more. I was going to throw that to our friend Todd. Todd, Mr. Show before 5 minutes of showtime. What do you have to think about this week's hot take? I knew I set the trap and you would walk right in. And being one of my best friends on this earth, I knew you would do it, and you did just me that favor. So thank you, my friend.
Well, being and I'm not one for excuses because I hear a lot of them being a store manager, and I think I've heard it all. Being a store manager, and then sometimes you get one that sneaks up and gets you just a little bit here and there. Being that I've been in a lot of different things right now, and I got my hands in a lot of cookie jars, I should say. Eating those cookies and trying to make and show up on time and trying to be schedule oriented. I used to be that type of guy that used to be there 30 minutes early before a race, or 30 minutes early before something different. But it's just one of those things as Phil leaves the channel. It's one of those things that I don't know. He just wanted to leave. But it's one of those things that showing up 5 minutes before the broadcast, real life comes first. And if Phil gets lost, he couldn't find his way home again. But it's just one of those things. 5 minutes before race time. Most generally, I have everything. Sometimes I don't. I'll tell you the truth, guys. Sometimes it's a struggle to get all the tracks and some of that stuff on time. But I should be better prepared, and sometimes I'm just not. And that's just the fact of life and the way of life for me lately. It's been very, very chaotic, and it's gotten worse over the time.
Well, guys, on that subject of I get lost and hit the wrong button and have to be dragged back in the conversation of being on time prepared, our 30-minute talk show for the week at an hour and 15 minutes long. So with that, guys, for my buddies, Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, Mr. Too Tall, Todd Stanton alongside, my name is Phil LeCass. I'd like to thank you all out there in YouTube land for watching us here this week with this week's edition of DRL Live. And I think the plan is we'll see you next week right back here at 8 o'clock. And, of course, check out all of us, the social media outlets, DRL Live, DRTV on DRL Network, and our home base, DRLnetwork.com. So until next week, get your results in now at DRL Live at DRLnetwork.com. So until next week, we say goodnight, and we'll see you here 7 nights from now with another installment of DRL Live.